Hello and welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, the ultimate resource for HR insights and guidance that will empower both seasoned business professionals and eager job seekers. I'm HR Kyle, your host. I'm excited to embark on this journey with you. In each episode, we'll delve into the intricacies of HR management, uncovering strategies that can transform the way you approach talent acquisition, employee engagement, and workplace dynamics. Whether you're a seasoned HR pro navigating the ever-evolving landscape of human resources or a job seeker striving to land your dream position, this podcast is your compass. Our mission is simple: to provide you with actionable knowledge, expert interviews, and inspiring stories that will help you thrive in the world of HR. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to take your HR game to the next level. Welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, where HR meets success. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your host, HR Kyle, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. In our first segment, we're delving into a topic many of us can relate to: navigating the tricky terrain of working with a difficult coworker. We'll explore some practical guidance to help you navigate those workplace waters smoothly. Trust me, we've all been there. In segment 2, get ready for a fascinating journey. Joining us is a special guest who has recently made the leap from Pakistan to the United States. She'll share her experiences and the things she's learned being here the past few months. It's a segment you won't want to miss. But before we dive in, we'll take a quick break. So grab your favorite beverage, stretch those legs, and get ready for an insightful and entertaining ride. This is the HR Kyle podcast, and we'll be right back after this. Are you a business owner looking to build a thriving team? Or perhaps a job seeker on a quest for your dream career? Look no further than HR Kyle. HR Kyle is your trusted partner for all things human resources. We're not just about services, we're about success. For businesses, HR Kyle offers tailored HR solutions from talent acquisition to compliance support. We're here to help your team flourish. And for the job seekers, HR Kyle provides personalized career guidance and direction that only a seasoned HR professional can offer. We'll help you find that perfect job match. Don't settle for less. Choose HR Kyle and unlock success today. Visit us at www.hrkyle.com. HR Kyle, unlocking potential, empowering careers, transforming business. Welcome back, wonderful listeners. I hope you enjoyed that brief break. Now let's dive into the first segment of today's HR Kyle podcast, where we're tackling a topic that resonates with many of us: dealing with difficult coworkers. We've all been there, right? Those moments in the office that make you wish for an invisibility cloak. But fear not. In this segment, I'll be sharing some valuable guidance to help you navigate those tricky professional waters and maintain your sanity. So whether it's the office drama, conflicting personalities, or just the everyday challenges of working with others, we've got you covered. Get your pens and paper ready, and let's talk about how best to work with a difficult coworker. And as I start off every segment one, I always say, what is your why? So for this one, what is our why? Why are we having this discussion today? First off, you are not alone. All of us at some point or another in our careers have dealt with a difficult coworker. In fact, 38% of employees experience workplace conflict in an average year. So more than 1/3. 5% of those people, you know what they do? They just simply resign. But that's not a good option. Why leave a good job because of one difficult situation that you're going to learn today is fixable? The cost to the company when an employee leaves, $25,000 and up. 53% of people handle the toxic situations by simply avoiding them. But you know what happens? It makes the situation worse. Why do they do it? Because they think by addressing it, they'll make the situation worse. They also believe that the company won't support whatever action they take. Well, I can assure you, both of those points are misguided. Here's what happens when we avoid toxic situations, as if I need to tell you. 1, productivity decreases. Stress goes up. And as a result of that stress, accidents increase and quality suffers. Absenteeism goes up and our business reputation suffers. When employees eventually do address these situations after avoiding them for a period of time, they are too emotionally charged because they've waited too long. So the emotions get in the way of the logic when we wait too long. One final figure for you before we talk about the techniques. Toxic workers cost companies about $12,000 per year. Okay, that's one toxic worker, and that's an average figure. So it's somewhere around that range. So it's probably safe to say the average toxic person causes their company about $10,000 to $20,000 of lost revenue in a given year. This is why we need to talk about this today. So starting off, let's define what makes a person difficult. And you'll understand a little bit later why I want to start with this point. A difficult person is typically someone who's callous, possibly they're aggressive, or even worse, passive aggressive. They're a person that's motivated by distrust. They're manipulative in some way, shape, or form. They might be domineering. They might be a person that's a hoarder, either a hoarder of supplies or resources, or a hoarder of information. The other thing a lot of our difficult coworkers share is they're an office gossip. So they're the person that we go to when we want some new information about what's happening in the company, whether or not it's true or not. So that's what makes a person difficult in a majority of these workplace situations. Now let's talk about what we need to do to address these situations. We're going to break this down into 3 segments. 1, what to do before the discussion. And yes, you heard me right. We are going to have a discussion with the person that we're having the issue with. Number 2, what to do during the discussion. And then finally, what to do after the discussion. And each one of these pieces is very important to addressing the situation. So let's start with before that discussion. First off, ask yourself if the situation warrants action. The safest measure is, does this conflict, does this difficult coworker affect your productivity? Your success or failure in the organization is measured by your productivity. So if this person and or this situation is affecting your productivity, in essence, it's affecting your job security. That's your measure whether it should be addressed or not. Secondly, address it sooner rather than later. As we spoke about before, postponing it, hoping it will go away does not work. These situations most often get worse, but one thing they do not do if they're ignored is get better. The next point is separate the person from the problem, and I know that can be difficult. What you're really focusing on here is their behavior and how it's affecting you. So we need to keep this behaviorally based. What behaviors are they doing that are having an adverse effect on your productivity? The next point, and this can be really difficult, consider the good qualities of the person. You will use this to reach them. So you're going to use this in part 2 where we're talking to them about the situation. The next one, and again, this can be a challenge. Check yourself. Is there something that you're doing to aggravate this situation in some way, shape, or form, to add to this conflict or possibly to stir it? Also, and right along with this, consider that person's point of view. Is there a reason why they're getting upset? Is there a reason why they're difficult with you? And then finally, Talk with someone you trust about the situation and try your very best to give them a complete assessment of what's taking place, up to and including the possible things that you may be doing to aggravate it or make it worse. Now, let's talk about what to do during the discussion. For one, approach it with a proactive and problem solver focus, meaning your goal is to cause this conflict that you're having, this difficult situation, to go away. Be objective and especially maintain your emotional control. By adding emotion to the situation, you take the focus off what your goal is, and your goal is to reduce the behavior or eliminate the behavior that's causing the conflict, that's causing the difficulty. And when you talk with this difficult coworker, consider your body language. Assume a stance that's non-threatening. Go to their office and have the discussion. Make sure the door is closed. Use humor to break the tension. Be specific. Talk about specific examples of what they've done or things that have happened between the two of you that are causing this strife, this difficulty. And again, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I don't believe I can mention it enough. Focus on their behavior and how it affects you. Also, and this is a tough one sometimes we have, but it's important to this discussion. Create consequences, and I want to provide some clarity around that. It may sound something like this. Steve, I'm hopeful we can work this out between us because it's impacting my work performance. And if we can't, we may need to get bosses involved to help us resolve it. But I think that the two of us can sit here today and we can resolve this so we can work more effectively together. And that's my goal. And what I've done there too with the consequences, I've come back to what you want. Focus on the positive. You're giving that person an opportunity to meet you halfway, to resolve this situation between the two of you. And then finally, what to do after the discussion. And please don't skip this step. It's as important as the other two. Document the discussion via email. Send an email to that person and them only. Thank them for the discussion. Review what was discussed. Let them know the solutions that you both reached. So put those in the email as well. And end that message, that email message, on a positive note, much like we did in the conversation. Keep this email for your records. Monitor the situation for change and don't hesitate to follow up if it's not tracking where it should be. And again, don't wait for that. If we see some slippage in recovery and things going in a positive way and they start to slip and go a little bit in a negative direction, address that immediately with that person. The other point, if there's little to no change, take it to your boss at that point. You've done everything that you can. And this, by the way, is where your documentation comes in handy, because it tells when you talk to the person, it tells what you talked about, it demonstrates the tone that you used during that discussion, and most importantly, it demonstrates that you made an effort to resolve it between the two of you before you got the boss involved. So let's summarize our discussion today. We've said that there will be difficult situations. You will have difficult coworkers in your career, at least once. These situations have an emotional cost on you. We've established that. But they also cost the business. Turnover, absenteeism, accidents, and so on are impacted by these difficult coworker situations. That's why they have to be resolved. We talked about what makes a person difficult. But notice we put the focus on the behaviors because that's where I want you to be focused, not your emotional reaction. The behaviors that the person is doing, because that's what we're looking to correct. We've also said you just can't let it go. Ignoring the problem, waiting, hoping it'll go away, hoping the person quits, dies, who knows what. Not going to work. We said you need to lay out a plan, and it's a plan that includes steps for before, during, and after the discussion. That's critical. We also hit on the fact that documentation is something that you must do. And this really holds true to a lot of the activities that you're doing in the workplace. Documentation is your friend. And then finally, we said if all of these steps, all of these things that you've tried to do, reasoning with the person, talking with them, making an attempt to bridge the disagreements that you might be having with them and the conflict, if that simply does not work, at that point, you need to take it to the boss because it's not going to change. And that brings us to the end of another insightful segment one here on the HR Kyle podcast, where we've been unraveling the complexities of working with difficult coworkers. Now, folks, don't go anywhere. We're taking a short break, but when we return, we have a special guest joining us for segment two. We'll be talking with her about her experiences as an international student here in the United States. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Are you a business owner looking to build a thriving team? Or perhaps a job seeker on a quest for your dream career? Look no further than HR Kyle. HR Kyle is your trusted partner for all things human resources. We're not just about services, we're about success. For businesses, HR Kyle offers tailored HR solutions from talent acquisition to compliance support. We're here to help your team flourish. And for the job seekers, HR Kyle provides personalized career guidance and direction that only a seasoned HR professional can offer. We'll help you find that perfect job match. Don't settle for less. Choose HR Kyle and unlock success today. Visit us at www.hrkyle.com. HR Kyle, unlocking potential, empowering careers, transforming business. Welcome back, listeners, to the HR Kyle podcast. I hope you enjoyed that short break. It's time now for what I always say is my favorite segment of the show. This is where we welcome a guest to our studio to share their experiences and pass along the wisdom they've learned. Joining me today is a remarkable guest, Kirat, who has recently embarked on a new and exciting chapter of her life. She's an international student who earlier this year came to the U.S. from Pakistan to continue her education. Kirat, welcome to the HR Kyle podcast.
Hello, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, this is Kuratulan, and some friend call me Dr. Q as I have recently completed my doctorate in physics. And I am a researcher in the field of material science and chemical engineering. In my PhD, I have done some lab research for making the efficient and stable solar cells using emerging material like perovskite and liquid gases. In short, I'm a woman in STEM having degree from LUMS, Pakistan, and visiting researcher from EPFL Institute, Switzerland, who has a dream to make low-cost solar cell to fight climate change and meet energy requirements.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing some of the work that you've been doing too, and just the exciting future that lies ahead for you in your research area. So, as we kicked off this session today, Kirat, we mentioned that you're from Pakistan. If you wouldn't mind,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your experience as an international student, just navigating this work world in the United States.
Yeah, as you are right. I have been in Pakistan for most of the year in my life, and I have completed my academic journey there. If I talk about my work life as international student, that exciting plus challenging journey was started last year in 2022 when I was on a visit at EPFL Institute Switzerland on research exchange program. I have experienced the pioneer environment and I explored the world standard lab facilities at that institute, and I have made new generation solar cells there. It was first experience for me to have exposure to diverse cultural environment and working with different international experts, scientists, and researchers in the field. I really enjoyed that 6 month period and also grew my particular adoptive and humble taste in life.
So, what are some things, Kirat, that you've noticed that are different between trying to find work in Pakistan and trying to find work in the U.S.?
Yeah, as you know, Pakistan is a developing country with a lot of economic challenges, due to which we have limited sources, limited platforms in Pakistan as compared to any other developed country. So, as I have been mostly attached to the academia in my life, so in my experience, Pakistan also has some big asset in the form of intellectuals and couple of institutes that have research facilities same as United States. But in terms of working opportunities, there are some unemployments because we have not have enough institute for the pool of educated people in our country. So we have brain powers but not have enough platform for implement their idea. If I compare with the United States, the facilities for scholarships, funding, academic and industrial opportunities, and cultural and networking dynamics are more better. And one thing that was more fascinating for me, that universities are closely related to the industry. Uh, that was quite interesting for me.
No, and I appreciate you sharing that perspective. And I've shared this with you offline, but I'm sure glad that you came to the U.S. Again, you and your husband just came here earlier this year, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And I believe he's a student in the same field that you're in.
Yeah, he's also a physicist, and yes, he's a theoretical physicist, and an experimentalist.
I'm sure that makes for some interesting conversation around the house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kirat, what advice would you give to other international students and really job seekers in general as they navigate finding a job and just the frustration and the disappointment that can go along with that?
Yeah, it's a quite a challenging situation sometimes, and but US is also land for opportunities. So I think if someone is interested to work in United States, first of all, he or she need to understand the visa policy to for a particular work category, and yes, and visa type they need. Like if you have F1 visa, you have limited university-based jobs, and for J1 visa, you have some more liberty to work authorization. And for handling frustration and disappointment, I think they guys need to engage themselves in other professional and extracurricular activities, such as polishing their research expertise, like learning the computational skills related to their research area, or collaborating on research projects where they can have peer-reviewed publications, which can be beneficial for their future careers. And along with working, I think they should enjoy the time as a golden hours to spend with their self and their family, dig out their other talents inside them, and it's a chance to explore some new recipes by cooking, and have some cycling, fresh air, fishing, and other workout activities. Actually, all these things I do by myself, and I think they should also try this.
That's some wonderful advice. And whether we always talk about when we're working to strike that work-life balance, but I appreciate you sharing the fact that even when we're job searching, we still need to have that balance in our lives to where part of it is about pursuing your employment interests and your aspirations there. But as you shared, not forgetting that you also need to have time with family and pursue those other activities that bring you joy and happiness.
Yes, exactly.
Well, folks, that wraps up our second segment. And a heartfelt thank you to our incredible guest, Kira, for sharing her inspiring journey with us. Her experience as an international student bring a very unique perspective to our podcast. Kira, thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Yes, thanks to you, Kyle, for inviting me and allowing me to share my experience.
No, you're very welcome. We're so glad you were here with us today. Well, folks, that
Okay.
also wraps up this episode of the HR Kyle podcast. To our audience, your support means the world to us. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more engaging conversations. This is HR Kyle signing off for now, But until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep listening. Take care. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the HR Kyle podcast. We hope you found our discussion valuable and filled with insights that you can apply in your professional journey. Whether you're a business leader aiming to foster a thriving workplace or a job seeker looking to carve out your own path, remember that HR Kyle is the compass that can guide you towards success. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. We're committed to being your trusted source for HR wisdom, and we look forward to having you back with us for our next episode. Remember, in the world of HR and professional growth, there's always room for progress. Be sure to visit our website at hrkyle.com. That's hrkyle.com to learn more about how we can help you meet your business and professional goals. So until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off. Stay motivated, stay informed, and keep reaching for those career goals. Music provided by bensound.com. That's bensound.com.